The city was busy and loud as always, but James did not notice much of it. He was focused on fixing the strange machine in his small workshop. James was a human engineer, not very tall, and he liked simple life. But today, something unusual was about to change everything. A small knock came at the door, soft but clear. He looked up, surprised to see a tiny figure standing there. She was no more than 4 feet tall, but her eyes were sharp and bright. Her skin was pale blue, and her hair shimmered like silver. She wore simple clothes but moved with a strange confidence. "Hello," she said softly, her voice calm and clear. "I need your help," the girl said. But James felt a strange chill inside. He wanted to ask many questions, but something about her made him silent. He felt like he was not fully in control of his thoughts. James stepped aside and let her enter the workshop. The girl walked around slowly, touching tools and machines with care. She looked small and weak, but James saw something powerful in her eyes. He did not know yet that she held a secret that would change his life. "Who are you?" James finally asked, trying to sound brave. "My name is Lyra," she said quietly. "I come from far away, beyond the stars." James laughed nervously, thinking she was joking. But Lyra's face was serious, and her eyes never left his suddenly. James felt strange, like a cold wind inside his mind. He tried to move, but his hands shook and his legs felt weak. Lyra smiled gently. "Don't be afraid, I am not here to hurt you," she said. "But I can help you do things you never thought possible." James wanted to say no, but his voice was soft and weak. He watched as Lyra reached out and touched his forehead lightly. A wave of energy passed through him, bright and warm. His mind felt open, but also tied to something he could not see. In that moment, James realized something very strange was happening. It was as if Lyra was controlling his thoughts, but also protecting him. He tried to think freely, but every idea returned to her like a magnet. Was this power good or bad? He did not know, but it scared him. Lyra looked at him with kindness. "I have a gift," she said. "A power that can change worlds, but it is dangerous if used wrong." James felt a mix of fear and curiosity. How can someone so small hold such power? He asked quietly. Lyra smiled. "Size does not matter where I come from," she said. "Some of the smallest beings hold the greatest strength." James remembered stories from old books about tiny creatures with big powers. He wondered if those were real or just legends. As the sun began to set outside, strange lights appeared in the sky. James looked up and saw ships unlike anything he had seen before. He felt a chill run down his spine. Lyra whispered, "They are coming for me, for my power." James wanted to protect her, but he still did not understand how. He looked at the small girl who controlled his thoughts. Despite her size, she was strong and brave, and James felt like his life was no longer his own. The door to the workshop shook suddenly. A loud bang echoed. James rushed to block the door. Outside, shadows moved fast, and the air was filled with tension. Lyra's eyes glowed softly, ready to face the danger. "Stay behind me," she said firmly. "I will keep you safe." James nodded, heart pounding. For the first time, he realized that this tiny alien girl was more than just a visitor. She was a force that controlled not only his actions, but the fate of many. As the first footsteps came closer, James knew there was no turning back. His world had changed forever. And it all started with the small girl with big power who controlled everything he did. James woke up the next morning, feeling strange. His mind was foggy, and his hands trembled a little. He tried to remember what happened last night, but the memories were blurry, as if someone had hidden them from him. Lyra was sitting quietly at the small table in his workshop. She looked calm, but her eyes showed a deep sadness. James wanted to ask her many questions, but the words stuck in his throat like thick honey. He tried to move freely, but sometimes his body felt like it had a mind of its own. At times, he found himself looking at things he did not want to see. He would walk towards places without meaning to. It was as if an invisible force was guiding him. Lyra noticed his confusion and smiled softly. "You are not alone," she said. "This happens to everyone I touch." James frowned. "What do you mean? Why do you control me?" he asked. Lyra's smile faded a little. "Control is not the right word," she said. "It is a connection, a link between your mind and mine." James was not sure if he should feel better or worse. He had never heard of anything like this before. "How long will this last?" he asked nervously. Lyra looked away for a moment. "As long as I need to protect you," she said. James felt cold inside, but also curious. He wanted to break free from her influence, but deep down, he knew something important was happening. This link was strange but also powerful. Over the next few days, James noticed small changes. He could sense when Lyra was near, even when she was silent. His thoughts often drifted to her, and he found himself wanting to help. He tried to resist, but it was difficult. One afternoon, as James worked on repairing a broken machine, his hand suddenly moved without his permission. It picked up a strange tool that Lyra had shown him the day before. He felt shocked but also amazed. Lyra laughed softly. "You are learning to listen to me," she said. James looked at her. "Is this how you control me?" Lyra shook her head. "Not control," she repeated. "Guidance." James wanted to understand more. He asked, "Why do you need to guide me like this? What is the danger?" Lyra's eyes grew serious. "There are many who want to take my power," she said. "Those who come for me do not care who they hurt." James felt his heart beat faster. He wanted to protect her, but he was not a soldier or a warrior. He was just a simple engineer. Lyra reached out and took his hand gently. "You have more power than you know," she said. "Together, we can fight." James was surprised by her words. He did not feel powerful, but something inside him was changing. The strange link between them was growing stronger. It was as if her strength was becoming his. That night, James had a dream. He saw strange creatures with glowing eyes. They moved in silence and darkness, hunting for Lyra. He tried to run, but his legs were heavy. Lyra's voice echoed in his mind. "You must be ready," she said. James woke up sweating. He looked at Lyra, who was asleep on the small chair. He wished he could protect her from the dangers he saw, but he did not know how. The next day, a loud noise shattered the quiet of the workshop. James and Lyra rushed outside. A group of strange aliens stood before them. They were tall and fierce, with sharp weapons and cold eyes. One stepped forward and spoke in a harsh voice. "We have come for the girl who controls the minds of men." James felt fear, but also a strange calm. He looked at Lyra, who stood small but fearless. The leader sneered. "You are weak, human," he said. "Step aside or die." James did not move. He felt the invisible link with Lyra strengthen inside him. He knew he was no longer alone. Suddenly, James felt energy flow through his body. His hands glowed faintly, and his eyes shone with new light. He raised his hand, and a powerful force pushed the aliens back. They stumbled, surprised by the human strength. Lyra smiled. "See? You are stronger than you think," she said. James nodded. Still amazed by what was happening, the aliens growled and retreated for now. But James knew this was only the beginning. As the sun set, James and Lyra stood side by side. The link between them was no longer a secret. It was a bond of power and trust. James realized that even though she was small, Lyra held a power that could change everything, and he was ready to fight for her, no matter the cost. The night was quiet, but James could not sleep. His mind was full of questions about Lyra and the strange power she held. He watched her sleeping peacefully in the corner of the workshop. Her small body looked fragile, but James now knew there was much more beneath the surface. Early next morning, James decided to ask her about her past. "Lyra, why do you have this power? Why are others after you?" he asked gently. Lyra opened her eyes slowly and looked at him. Her gaze was deep and sad, as if carrying many heavy memories. She took a deep breath and began to tell her story. "I come from a distant planet called Zira, far beyond your stars. She said, "Our people are small in size, but we possess powers that most worlds do not understand." James listened carefully. Feeling like he was entering a new world of mystery, Lyra continued, "Long ago my people were peaceful, living quietly among the stars, but a great war changed everything. A group of powerful aliens wanted to control our world and our abilities. They captured many, and some were lost forever." James felt a chill, imagining the pain she must have faced. "Where were you during this war?" he asked. Lyra's eyes grew distant. "I was just a child when my family was taken away. I escaped and learned to hide my powers, but they hunted me still." She looked down at her small hands. "I am one of the last survivors with the power. To link minds, this power lets me protect and guide, but it also makes me a target." James realized why she needed to control him. It was not for harm, but for safety. "But why choose me?" James asked, puzzled. "You are human, different from my kind." Lyra smiled softly. "Because you are strong in ways I did not expect. Your heart is brave, and your mind is open. Together, we can survive what is coming." James felt a strange warmth inside. He had never thought of himself as brave, but Lyra's words gave him hope. Suddenly, the workshop door creaked open. A soft wind blew in, carrying a strange scent. James looked toward the entrance but saw nothing. Then, a small device on the table beeped urgently. Lyra's eyes snapped open, sharp and alert. "They found us again," she said quietly. James stood up quickly, ready for whatever was coming. Lyra explained, "The war is not over. The ones who want my power will not stop until they get it. We must be ready to fight or run at any moment." James felt a mix of fear and determination. He was no longer just an engineer. He was part of something bigger. To prepare, Lyra began teaching James about her powers. She showed him how the mind link worked, how they could share thoughts and feelings across any distance. James practiced focusing his mind, trying to connect with her silently. At first, it was difficult, but little by little, he felt her presence inside his thoughts. It was like having a new sense, stronger than sight or hearing. They could warn each other of danger, even when apart. One afternoon, while practicing, James suddenly saw a vision. He was standing on a strange battlefield, filled with light and shadows. Lyra's voice echoed, "This is our future if we do not act." James gasped and opened his eyes wide. "What was that?" he asked, shaken. Lyra nodded. "It is a warning, a glimpse of what may come. We must find allies and protect my world before it is too late." James felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. He thought about his simple life before meeting Lyra. That life seemed far away now, replaced by danger and power. That evening, they looked at the stars together. Lyra pointed to a distant bright light. "That is Zira, my home planet. I want to return one day to help rebuild and protect." James held her hand gently. "We will go back together," he said. Lyra smiled, hope shining in her eyes. For the first time in a long time, she felt that she was not alone. But deep in the darkness, far from Earth and the workshop, hidden enemies watched and planned their next move. They would not let Lyra's power go free. The war was coming closer, and the small girl's secret was the key to everything. James tightened his grip on her hand, ready to face the storm ahead. Together, they were stronger than anyone expected, and the future was waiting for their fight to begin. The days grew heavier for James. He could feel the strange connection with Lyra growing stronger every moment. Sometimes it was like a whisper in his mind, gentle and guiding. Other times, it was like a loud voice he could not ignore. He was losing control over his own thoughts. James tried to live normally. He worked in his workshop, fixed machines, and helped neighbors, but always he felt Lyra's presence, close and distant. At the same time, she could reach into his mind, change his mood, even push him to do things. It scared him, but he could not stop it. One morning, James woke up to find himself standing outside the city gates. He did not remember walking there. Lyra was beside him, calm and smiling. "You needed to see something," she said softly. James frowned. "Why did you make me come here?" he asked, confused. Lyra's eyes held a secret. "Because you must understand what we fight for. This place holds the memory of my people's fall. It will teach you about my world and why my power is so dangerous." They walked through the silent ruins, broken buildings, and forgotten machines covered in dust. James saw signs of battles long gone. Scars on the ground told stories of pain and loss. As they walked, James felt the weight of history pressing on him. Lyra's voice echoed in his mind. "Our people lost their freedom here. They trusted others and paid a heavy price. Now, I carry their hope to protect what remains." James wanted to help, but he felt trapped. He could not tell where his thoughts ended and Lyra's began. Sometimes he tried to resist, pushing back with all his will, but the connection was too strong, pulling him back every time. That night, James dreamed of being lost in a dark maze. Every turn was a new struggle to find himself. Lyra's voice called out, "Trust me." But James wanted to scream, "Let me be free." He woke up feeling exhausted and broken. The next day, James faced Lyra with anger. "Why are you doing this to me?" "I am not a puppet for your power," he said fiercely. Lyra's eyes softened. "I never wanted to hurt you, but I need you to survive." James shook his head. "I am scared of losing myself." Lyra stepped closer. "You are stronger than your fears. This bond is a test for both of us." They sat in silence for a long time. James thinking about the strange pull inside him. Lyra thinking about how to protect him without control. In the days that followed, they worked to find balance. Lyra taught James how to listen to the connection without losing himself. James learned to trust the small voice in his mind, not as control, but as guidance. Slowly, the struggle changed. James felt more himself, but still connected to Lyra. He could feel her emotions, her fear, hope, and strength, and he shared his own feelings with her. It was like two minds learning to dance together. One afternoon, while practicing, a sudden alarm rang through the city. Aliens from the war were attacking nearby. James and Lyra prepared to fight. James felt the power in his veins, a gift from the connection. He was no longer just a man, but a part of something greater. The battle was fierce. James used his new strength to protect innocent people. Lyra guided him with silent words in his mind. Together, they fought as one, unstoppable and fierce. After the fight, James looked at Lyra with new respect. "Maybe this bond is not a curse," he said. Lyra smiled. "It is a choice. We choose how it shapes us." But the struggle was far from over. For every victory, new dangers waited. And James knew that the fight to keep his mind and heart free was just beginning. As the sun set, James and Lyra stood together, ready to face whatever came next, because even in struggle, there was strength, and together, they were stronger than anyone could imagine. The air was thick with tension as James and Lyra stood at the edge of the city. They could hear distant sounds, machines roaring, alarms blaring, and footsteps pounding. The enemy was close. And this time, they brought more than just shadows. They brought fire and fury, ready to take what they wanted by force. Lyra's small hands clenched tightly, her pale blue skin glowing faintly. "We must move fast," she said quietly. "They will not wait for us to prepare." James nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility heavier than ever. He had grown from a simple man to a protector, and now, a warrior. The first wave of enemies appeared like ghosts in the smoke, tall and fierce, their weapons shining with deadly light. James felt his heart race but steadied himself. He was linked to Lyra, and together, they were a force no one expected. Lyra stepped forward, her voice calm but strong. "You will not take her," she said, eyes flashing with power. The leader of the attackers sneered, "Small girl, your tricks will not save you this time." He signaled his troops to attack, and the battle began. James moved with surprising speed and strength. Energy flowed through him like a river unleashed. He dodged blasts and struck back with power he did not fully understand. Lyra stood by his side. directing him with quick thoughts and sharp warnings. Despite their courage, the enemies were many. They pushed forward like a storm, relentless and cruel. James felt pain from scratches and burns, but he refused to fall. He was fighting not just for himself, but for Lyra and the future she represented. In the middle of the fight, James saw a figure moving towards Lyra, a tall alien with glowing eyes and sharp claws. James shouted a warning, but it was almost too late. The attacker lunged at Lyra, aiming to strike her down without thinking. James threw himself between them. The force of the attack threw him to the ground. Pain exploded through his side, but he did not cry out. Lyra's power surged, bright and wild. She raised her hands, and a shield of light surrounded them. The attacker recoiled, shocked by the strength of the small girl. James struggled to his feet. He looked at Lyra, who was glowing brighter than ever. Her eyes held a fierce determination. "No one will harm us," she whispered. Together, they fought side by side, their bond stronger than any weapon. They moved like one being, James using his newfound power, Lyra guiding and protecting with her mind and energy. The enemies began to falter, confused by the strength of the tiny girl and the human who fought for her. One by one, they retreated into the smoke and shadows. The city grew silent again, but the danger was far from over. James looked at his wounded hands. He could feel the pain but also pride. He had stood his ground for Lyra, and she had saved him in return. Lyra smiled weakly. "We survived today, but they will come back." James nodded. "We will be ready," he said firmly, "no matter what it takes." That night they tended to their wounds. James helped Lyra clean a cut on her arm. She winced, but did not complain. He realized that beneath her power was a fragile soul, one that needed care and trust, just like any human. They talked quietly about their future. Lyra spoke of her home planet and the hope to return one day. James promised to help her get there. But first, they had to survive the war that followed. Them here, as they rested, James felt the connection between them deepen. It was no longer just power or control. It was friendship, trust, and something more, hope. Outside, in the darkness, new eyes watched the city, silent and waiting. The enemies were planning their next move, but James and Lyra were no longer alone. They were ready to face the storm, together, as one. The morning light spilled softly through the cracks of the workshop walls. James sat quietly, watching Lyra prepare a strange device on the table. Her face was serious, and he knew today would bring answers. He had questions that burned inside him like fire. "Lyra," James began carefully, "why do you need to control me? Why link your mind with mine?" Lyra looked up and met his eyes. "There is a secret," she said softly, "a truth I have hidden even from myself." James leaned closer, eager to hear. Lyra took a deep breath and began. "Our power, the link, is not just a gift. It is a bond created to protect something ancient and dangerous. Something lost long ago but still alive in the darkness." James frowned. "What is it?" Lyra's eyes darkened. "A force called the core. It is the heart of my planet Zira, a source of great energy. It can create or destroy worlds. Long ago, my people swore to guard it forever. But the core was stolen," Lyra continued, "by enemies who want to use its power for war and destruction. I carry the link to find and protect it." James felt the weight of her words settle on his shoulders. He understood why she needed to connect minds, to protect secrets, and to survive. "The link with you," Lyra said gently, "helps me stay grounded. It shares my strength and my fears. It lets me see through your eyes and feel your heart. Without it, I am vulnerable, lost in the vastness of space and danger." James looked at her small hands, now trembling slightly. He realized the burden she carried was heavier than he thought. "You're not just controlling me, you're sharing yourself," he whispered. Lyra nodded. "Yes, and you are the first human who understands." Suddenly, the workshop shook with a distant explosion. James and Lyra jumped to their feet, alert and ready. The enemy is closer than ever, Lyra said, eyes sharp. James felt the surge of energy between them, stronger than before. We must act quickly, Lyra said. The core's location is hidden, but with the link, I can sense it moving. I need your help to find it before it falls into the wrong hands. James nodded, determination burning inside him. He was no longer afraid of the unknown. Together, they prepared to leave the safety of the workshop, their minds connected, their mission clear. As they stepped outside, the city was calm, but James knew the peace was fragile. He glanced at Lyra. Her small frame strong and confident, despite everything. She was ready to fight for her people, and he was ready to fight for her. The path ahead was dangerous and unknown, but the truth was out. The core, the power, the secret bond, it was all real, and it was theirs to protect. James took a deep breath and squeezed Lyra's hand. No matter what happens, we face it together, he said. Lyra smiled, a soft light in her eyes. Together, she agreed. Far away, hidden in the shadows, enemies watched. They knew the link was the key, and they would stop at nothing to take it. But for now, James and Lyra moved forward, united by truth, power, and hope. Their journey had only just begun. The sky was painted with the colors of dawn as James and Lyra stood at the edge of the city. The battles they fought were behind them, but the journey ahead was vast and unknown. James looked at the small alien girl beside him, her eyes shining. With quiet strength, she was only 4 feet tall, but she held the weight of worlds in her heart. For the first time, James felt a calm settle inside him. The strange link between their minds was no longer a burden. It was a bond of trust and hope. Together they had faced danger, pain, and fear, and now they were ready for whatever came next. Lyra turned to James, her voice soft but certain. Our fight was only the beginning, she said. There is much to rebuild, many to save, and many secrets to uncover. James nodded, feeling a new purpose grow within him. He was no longer just an engineer or a man caught in strange events. He was a guardian, a partner to the last of a powerful race. He felt ready to stand beside Lyra, to walk with her into the unknown. They looked up at the stars. Lyra pointed to a bright light far away. That is Zira, my home, she said. I want to go back and help my people rebuild, to protect the core and keep peace. James smiled. We will go there together, he promised. Lyra reached out and took his hand, their minds connected, sharing hope and courage as they prepared to leave. A new ship landed nearby. It was unlike any craft James had seen before. Sleek and shining, it hummed with quiet power. From its doors stepped others, humans and aliens, friends and allies. James realized they were not alone anymore. Word had spread of Lyra's power and the human who stood by her side. Others had come to join the fight, to protect the future. The small girl smiled, no longer afraid or alone. Her power was no longer hidden in shadows. It was a light that drew others near. A light of hope and strength. James felt a deep pride. He had started as a simple man, but now he was part of something greater. A new beginning for both humans and aliens alike. As the ship's engines roared to life, James and Lyra looked at each other, ready for the adventure ahead. Their bond unbreakable, their spirits strong. The future was uncertain, but with trust and courage, they would face it together. And the small girl who controlled everything James did had become the light that guided them all.